Shivasankar Sahu, who is an assistant professor, geography department of Ravenshaw University. He holds his master degree from Delhi School of Economics and MPhil PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has number of research publication and having more than 8 years of teaching and research experience. And he is a regular contributor to uh, Korean daily newspaper, and he is the social activist and a popular teacher, very dynamic teacher. And the topic is concerned that in COVID pandemic is, that is a has profound impact on human lives, economics, and healthcare system. It also very badly affects that uh, that in unorganized sectors, labor classes, and all. So, without wasting time, I would request our speaker, Dr. Siva Sundar Sahu, our elder brother, please, you go ahead, you enlighten us.
Good afternoon, all. I really thankful to Amuk Prayas, the academic organization which is basically focused on the educational development of the Odisha. Basically, I really thankful to the organization, to the members of all the organization, and also thankful to Jade for such a wonderful job by connecting all the peoples by taking the technical all the technical matters of Amok Prayas. And really it is a great privilege for me to give a lecture, such a lecture, which is a time of need, very important topic, that is the informal worker and migrant and informal worker in the post-COVID era. Basically, this again, I also thankful to the founder of this particular Amok Prayas, Indian Economic Service, the Deepak Kumar Das. He is also the selfless effort always inspire all the members of Amok Prayas to do to sacrifice for the society. Everyone is inspired on him. Also, he is one of the great inspiration for all the members of Amok Prayas. Again, his contribution to the particular organization is very high. Really, I am privileged to find such type of person in my life. So again, I am thankful to Deepak Das IAS for this wonderful job. So let me start my presentation. Again, thank all the participants for joining in the webinar. Is it audible? Is it audible? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, it's audible.
Okay. Just I'm presenting my is it visible? Is it visible now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Yes.
No.
Actually, the topic of the today's presentation is impact of COVID-19 on the informal and migrant workers. That you know that migrant workers and the informal sector play a very determined role in context of the economy, the backbone of economy. These people have played a great role in the Indian economy, not only Indian economy, the world economy. Around 90% of total workforce is engaged in the informal sector. So, post-COVID, in the COVID era, it is really it made a catastrophe. So, not only the economic catastrophe, the health catastrophe, social catastrophe to these particular section. Millions of people lost their job, and they are in the all in the poverty trap. Then some of the people are psychological imbalance, social disturbances, economic disruption, and many types of situation is affected in the post-COVID era. So here, you know that the dignity of labor is now a question mark, and every person in the world now thinking about the informal sector and migrant worker, which was invisible few days back. Before the COVID-19, nobody is care about the migrant and informal worker. Nobody is aware about these particular, these people are invisible, but their role was very high. So these are the things when that's why I'm thinking to do a presentation on this particular topic, and I tried a lot to prepare all the things. So here you know that 90% of the total workforce in the informal economy, basically workforce this is basically 419 out of 465 million workers in the informal economy are at a risk due to the COVID-19. This informal sector workers, 90%, 95% from rural background and 80% urban workers. 4 out of 5 people in the world basically affected due to the COVID-19. It is around 3.3 billion people workforce are affected. International Monetary Fund, which is described that the worst economic crisis after Great Depression we see in the COVID situation. So you know that CMI report has already published in first week of March that unemployment rate was 8.7, and if you see the CMI site now, then it is around more than 20% and around 25% unemployment, which is in the past 50 years very the high unemployment rate we found. And the next future, what will happen, you know it better, because the next 2 years or 3 years there will be industrial disruption, there will be some SEZ shutdown, there are many economic the large-scale industry will shut down due to the lack of labor. The migrant labor will be feared to go again to the workforce. So automatically to revive this economy will be a great challenge for the Indian, not only India but the world. So here, you know that labor market is now a great problem. So in case of, if you see the migrant workers, the half of the urban population, around half of the urban population are migrants, and 1/5 means 20% are interstate migrants. Rural to urban migrant basically concentrate in 53 million plus urban agglomeration like Delhi, Mumbai and all the things. 53 urban agglomeration, there are major migrants are concentrated, and around 140 million out of 377 million urban population in the country is equivalent to 43% of total urban population are migrants. So here you know that 482 million workers in India and around 194 million are permanent and semi-permanent migrant workers. Then there are 15 certain migrants like seasonal migrants, 15 million. Basically it is derived by Kese and Bhagat, 12. And basically when you think about, there are two terms associated with the migrant, that is the in-migration and out-migration. When you see the in-migration, basically in-migration rate were higher in high-income states. Those income that creating those states having the capacity to give employment, capacity to the industrial cluster, and capacity to the high capital formation. So basically this is basically the Delhi, Goa, Haryana, Punjab, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka. A low-income state basically, if you see low-income state like Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Odisha, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. So these are the states that the out-migration is much more higher. So here in the, if you count the 1990 to 2011 census, within the 20 period of time, the migrant rate is doubled from 220 to 455 million, more than double. So here, in case of SC and ST migrants, migration is very much bounded within their territory, and the out migration, interstate migration is as much very low as compared to the other category. So you can find 40% of the ST, 60% of the SC, and 70 total migration out of total migration of this particular community. And also as compared to the 70%, they are much more higher as compared to these two groups. So here, some of our constitution also tells about the migrants, people. There are the free migration is enshrined in the clause 8, D and D of Article 19(1). That is the guarantee of all citizens the right to move freely throughout the territory. Article 15 basically prohibits discrimination on the basis of place of birth. Article 16 guarantee equality of opportunity for all citizens. First, this is the things where the Constitution, the founding of our Constitution of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar have a great role to giving. He is a visionary person, so he has mentioned such type of such type of article in this particular time to protect these people, because he know that these people are vulnerable group. So such type of things should be there, by which they will be protected. Then some of the labor value, some great scholar view. You know that labor, there are major factors of production. Out of 4 major factors, land, labor, capital, and organizational labor is the most major factor of production. With the creation of all goods and services, labor play a very determining role. So if you know that labor is the true standard of value by Abraham Lincoln. So yesterday I saw a Facebook post that is about Abraham Lincoln. Someone in the person from JNU, the class of Jain students, he is from Odisha. Yes, he mentioned that one day when Abraham Lincoln became the president of America, USA, in the White House, when he joined the first day of his presidency, one of his courtiers or in the ministers tell that he saw this Abraham Lincoln's father was generally clean my shoes and the brush of my shoes. Basically, he was the muchi. So in the profession. So that's why Abraham Lincoln in that time still, yes, my father was a basically the cobbler, but same times he was a dedicated and dignified cobbler. He never ever cheat anybody. And have you ever cheated by my father? Well, the person, the ministers in that particular said, no, he was a very honest person. And the Abraham Lincoln's reply was, okay, if anything he remained or he had not done, then I can make for you, because I am also in the profession. I am a cobbler's son, so there is no hesitation to love my job. So my job, my father's job is a cobbler. So being a son of being a son, so I have some experience of a cobbler, so I can do this thing. So what exactly he want to say? Any job you are doing, so it is every job having value, every labor having a value, every labor having high output. So you cannot neglect any labor. So whatever any labor. So that the things. So the great message we can find. The great person Abraham Lincoln was revolutionary in case when he described the labor value. Then also same cases when I found some of the things related to the Karl Marx view, that basically Karl Marx, you know that he has a surplus of labor and factors of production, modes of production, dialectical materialism, historical materialism, many things he has described. All the things are based on labor. Labor is the main actor, is the hero of the Karl Marx theory. So basically, labor has undeniable role in shaping the nation's pursuit and should get maximum share in the factors of production. So out of 4 factors of production, land, labor, capital, and organization, that the entrepreneur, labor should get the maximum benefit, because labor is the living factor. Labor is the creator, labor is the creator. Without labor, no production can be possible. So, but the things is not the different, you know it very well. The labor movement did not diminish the strength of the nation, but enlarged it. Martin Luther King Jr. Take note from the mouth of labor, the bread that it has earned. Take note from the mouth of the labor. It is a very powerful one, given by Thomas Jefferson, is a great economist. Workers' rights should be central focus of development. Joseph Stiglitz is a Nobel laureate in economics, and also one of the very great scholar of the ever produced India ever produced is Ambedkar. His wisdom is not it's unlimited, and basically so long as you to achieve social and economic liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail to you. So social and economic liberty in case of labor, and also in particular to migrant and informal worker who is vulnerable. So this is very important thing. So here some of the just I'm coming to the exact things which I have prepared. So there are district level interstate out migration. You can see the what are the district, the high district basically the black area. It is the in the shaded area basically where the out migration is very high. But basically in the underdeveloped area, if you see in case of the Ganjam district of Odisha, it's a very high out migration, and also some part of the southern part also, and also this is the northeastern part, exactly north and basically and Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. In this particular area, the out migration, this map is clearly shown. And here the share of out migration, you just see the population share and the out migration share. It is clearly visible that Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, you just see the line graph is the out migration share, and the population share is the vertical bar diagram. And if you compare the two things, and that is the polygon, that is out migration share percent polygon at drawn. So you can compare that Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and also you can find the Rajasthan, this and Haryana. These are the things, particular area you can find the highly out migration as compared to their population. But in case of Odisha, it is different. Odisha, the population share is much more higher as compared to out migration. Then here the table, the resident stream for intercensal migration. That is, if you see maximum due to the marriage, the maximum migration is happening. And in case of the particular case, if you see that 2001 to 2011 census data, then obviously urban to rural migration increased, but massively increased urban to urban migration. Urban to urban migration increases from 15.2 to 22.6%, where urban to rural migration also increases, but in a very minimum rate, and also declining to rural migration and decline. And also if you see the work in the business, that is work in business, that is in case of everything that declined the 2001 to 2011. But in the case of education and case of the marriage and family related issue, the urban to rural things, in case of family related issue, you can find in this particular data. So this is the clear vision, the region for intersection. There are major regions that work and business, education, marriage, family related, others, and these are some of the regions which is the data is given by the Census of India. Then occupational structure of migrant and non-migrants. So here, if you see, these are some of the major occupational structure of the migrants and non-migrants. In rural area, basically the major focus is the primary occupation. In the urban area, basically we can find the manufacturing unit and traditional services, trade and services, and modern services also. In the case of the maximum male are engaged. In case of female, same cases also, the primary activity. And also in the urban area, maximum female is engaged in the public services. Basically, this is some of the informal sector public services. So here, some of the migration, basically short-term migration, rural origin, Basically here the maximum short-term migration you can find in the construction. It is given by the census 2011, and 31.6% of the short-term migration you can find in construction work. And urban area, so maximum you can find in the manufacturing short-term migration, and also next to the construction. In the long-term migration, you can find in the other sector in the urban area, and in the rural area, primary activity the maximum in the long-term migration. So these are some of the things. If you see the category of SC, ST and other category, then you can find the we have compared the census and NSC. So both are giving the migration data. Census in the giving every 5 years, and NSC, census giving every 10 years, and NSC is giving quinquennial data, that is every 5 years. So here we can find the two matching these things. Scheduled tribe, scheduled caste, and others. If you see, basically, these are the migration pattern, and also others are maximum migration as compared to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. And maximum scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are engaged in the construction work. That is basically the very much short-term in nature. And also here some of the work which is very hazardous. So these are the work, honorable work, they are very highly associated. So migrant of Delhi and Mumbai, if you see, most of the migrants if Delhi and Mumbai, most of the migrant in manufacturing sector in the Delhi, as well as the traditional services, and also basically how the rural basically here in the dark things is showing the rural to other states and urban to other states. Basically, maximum rural people are coming here for the manufacturing and traditional job, but urban sector, in the urban area, urban people come to this particular place for doing the traditional services and public and social services in Delhi. We just compare these things. And Mumbai, also same cases. If you see, there is the rural to other state, urban other state. Then some of the things are there. Here you just see how the pattern of the migrants in Delhi and Mumbai in the different sectors, and how different area people are coming or flow to this particular area for different types of job. So this is the classification. So here major out migration states from Odisha, if you see, the highest out migration from Odisha is the Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh, basically 19% of the people from Odisha, migrant people from Odisha, go to Chhattisgarh, next to the Andhra, 13.6, the data of 2011. And here the surrounding the Odisha, that is the Chhattisgarh and also West Bengal, and here we can find Andhra, and here the Gujarat is why people go to Gujarat, because the Gujarat basically maximum people go to the cotton mill. This is the one trend that the Odia people in Gujarat are strongly linked, and maximum people from the Ganjam district are go to this particular area. So this is one reason. So these are some of the. So if why Odisha is highly out migrated? No, Odisha is not a highly out migrated state, because the total percentage of the population, the migrant population to total population, the total population of the whatever I showed the earlier figure, that is higher than the out migration. As compared, if you see the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, it is much more higher as compared to Odisha. So, but the migration, out migrant in Odisha is much more much more lower as compared to the state which are mentioned, the Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and all the Rajasthan, all the things. But here the government had have not taken such of initiative, because we are seeing Odisha migrants desperate trying to reach their home, disturb the national consciousness, because Odisha's migrants, the issue is really the national issue as compared to other migrants issue. Basically, some of the lack of the upper level, better transport system and apathy of the coordination and government, all the things, and non-government agency also responsible for doing these things in smoothly. So I'll not go to these things in a deeper way. So some of the things are just coming to the unorganized sector and organized sector worker. You know that I will already told you the first 57.5 million people are unorganized sector. Out of this, 309.4 are male and million male, and 148 million are female. And basically, and so organized sector is a very minuscule. That is the 28.8% only organized sector in male, and 6% very few. The 6% is the 6 million, not percent, 6 million, only 6 million female in the organized sector. Then, sorry, this is the total worker in the unorganized sector worker is 422.6 million. But here organized sector worker is 34.9 million. The total worker is 457.5 million. So that exactly the scenario of the, and if you see agriculture, non-agricultural sector, and the unorganized worker in the agriculture, non-agriculture, all this here is mentioned here. So if you see the unorganized sector, you just see in MI that the 92.4% of the total workforce are unorganized workers. And there is also unorganized sectors. Unorganized sector is 86.3% of the unorganized sector worker, and unorganized sector, unorganized worker is 92.4%. The Odisha case, if you see, in the all India level, it is in the Odisha case, basically it is 90.1% of the total unorganized sector, and 94.5 is much more higher. Odisha, just above Odisha, it is Rajasthan, and I think Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh is above the unorganized worker. So also Odisha is much more higher as compared to other parts. This is the bar size, clear overview of this unorganized sector. So trends of informal sector and informal employment. You just see, I have calculated the NSSO data, 2004, 9, and 11, 12. 2004, 5, the informal sector employed was 93.65, then it declined to 92.9, then 2011 to 92.9, very few decline. And informal worker also same cases it declined, but as a comparatively bigger way. And same cases the formal sector here, the formal sector worker, if you see the formal sector increases a rapid way as compared to formal employment. Formal employment is a very sluggish way increases, very slow rate. For the formal sector increasing the greater way as compared to formal employment. But that is also some of the dilemma we can find. Then the percentage distribution informal sector by household type, rural or urban Odisha. If you see the maximum population in the rural Odisha, informal population, informal worker, is same employed in the non-agricultural sector. Basically 57.4%. And in the urban Odisha, this is 76% at the casual labor. So this is also a very vulnerable section. So regional share of industrial activity, if you see the manufacturing in the coastal, southern and northern district, we have calculated 68 around the 2011-12 data in the from NSSO level. Then the manufacturing different sectors are there, and the coastal region is red, southern region also different color as given. So if you see in the coastal region, real estate activity is much more higher, but in the southern region and in the northern region, you can find the water supply related employment in the informal sector is high, and also electricity, gas supply is high in the northern region. In southern region, due to some of the now the financial insurance sector has much more. You can find in the Nabarapur, Kalahandi, Koraput, all the things. The people are due to the lack of the financial inclusion. So basically, many companies, many private banks are mushroomingly established there. So that exactly creates some of the employment facility in this particular area, southern region. So here, economic condition. Again, I have already told you that in the informal sector, the economic condition is very, very worse. As compared, if I have calculated this data from the different quintile. So first quintile basically the very poor people. And if you see the southern region, out of all the informal sector, 48, around half of the population of the informal sector in southern region are in the first quintile, which very poor category. And in the higher quintile section, we can in the informal sector we can find the coastal region. And that shows that the informal sector in the coastal region is far better as compared to the informal sector worker in the southern region and the northern region. So both social and spatial disadvantages, because they are intersect with the two things. That in the southern region, for social disadvantage is there, spatial disadvantage there. So that things also create some of the vulnerability. Again, the vulnerability double due to in the case of the southern region as compared to the coastal region informal sector. The regional identity also creates some of the exclusion in the case of the informal sector. That I want to explain in this particular figure. So here, incidence of working poor and non-poor in informal sector in urban Odisha by region and industry. If you see the maximum poor, we can find the construction sector, construction worker. Because why? Because in the construction worker, the construction mafia, they are getting all the proof because they are hire the people with a high cost, but giving the labor is the very minimum. If they hire the labor at 1,000 rupees, finally they will give the labor 100 rupees. So that the things we can find maximum in the construction sector. So here, so southern region, construction sector is the maximum poor, that is around 63.6%. Northern region is more than 50%. Somehow coastal region escaped from the trap because they are more aware about these things, what exactly the wage. And I have experience when I was in Navarampur for my field survey. Then I just asked the people basically what is the what exactly the labor cost we are getting the female. She told me, sir, they are giving me 40 rupees. I have been for 6-7 years. 40 rupees. Yes, 40 rupees. Then how we manage? Handia, they are giving as much handia we can drink. Handia देते हैं और बहुत सारा जैसे कुछ तंबाकू देते हैं, गंजा देते हैं, वो सब एडिक्टेड जो मटेरियल उनको देते ताकि वो क्या ना वो उनका जो दारू ये सारा उनको देंगे. और अभी भी उधर इफ यू सी द माइट्स मक्का और I basically if you see the cashew nut farming is very high in the Navarampur district. I visited this place many times. So still the cashew nut, the raw cashew nut, still the people are selling at 40, 50 rupees or 60 rupees or 30 rupees. So if the cashew processed, this cashew basically sell in the market 1,000 and 1,500. So that the things basically you can find in this particular area. So here these are the things also find some of the transport and other services. You just find how the poverty trap we can find a different sector. So impact on informal and migrants, what exactly the COVID impact? What will the affect? How it will affect the different sectors, the informal sector, migrant workers? Basically, I have already told that it is a potential catastrophe of health, economy, and psychology of the migrants and informal workers. You know it very well. Every day, newspaper, half of the page, the migrant issue, you can find every day hundreds of news related to migrant, thousands of images of migrant and informal sector issue. So that things need not to be described. So here, the COVID-19 crisis has a potential to push around 40 crore of informal sector growth in India to deeper poverty. 40 crore, just imagine, 40 crore people will be in the poverty trap. More will be dying hunger and health disaster. Migrant and informal have very low bargaining power in the labor market. So the chance of trap in the exploitation will be high, though the low bargaining power. Migrant and informal have ignored for a long time, still now ignored and still now is stigmatized. After also the COVID issue, after many issues are found, so there is no problem at all. Millions of labour stranded in less than overnight lockdown decision by center without a proper relief package and livelihood of the workers. Police and administration, not I am blaming all the police and administration, but few police and whatever you have already heard some of the new brutality, police and brutality as well as social stigma with migrant enhanced. Chicken leg game between sector and state regarding the migrant issue continues. So some of the conclusion and suggestion I want to describe in this. So here, if government have dual challenge, first those informal workers lost the job, and second who are already unemployment and looking for the job due to the pandemic COVID. So two major problem government have to be tackled. Apart from assisting informal worker, migrant need to be considered urgent attention. At a special MSME and SME economic relief package should be rolled out to address their needs. Instead, leave a big package for agriculture, small and medium scale industry to absorb people who lost their job in the COVID. Then subsidize food for a period of 1 year at least with immediate effect under the National Food Security Act. Then the minimum cash transfer already it is given by Duflo or the Banerjee, the Nobel laureate. The minimum cash transfer of 5,000 per month ration card holder registered under the NFSA. Then here some of the healthcare also universalization healthcare facility should be given. Then here the link between informal settlement and Make in India need to be recognized. Then facilitate the provision of wide variety of rental accommodation. It was true. Migrant rental accommodation is very essential. In the urban area, due to the rental, I have had news that in Gujarat, in a particular 10 by 10 room, 20 people are staying because there is shift wise. There is the shift wise work. So if 10 people will go to the work, then another 10 people will be rest in the room. So if after the lockdown, so all the industry are closed. So again, how they will manage 20 people manage a single room. So that things basically came to the limelight when first type of pandemic is happened. So how they're staying in a like this. You know that in the home, in the house 10 by 10 house, how is it possible? It is very difficult. So there is a rental accommodation. The hostel, migrant hostels should be established in every urban area to accommodate these people. So here, in other data, if the major problem is no data. So in-migration data is given by the census, but out-migration, from the district out-migration, this data is not given. Then how many people are going to different places, this data should be created, the database, proper database should be important. So here, ensure food security to especially short-term migrants who move without their household loss in the PDS, covering contract worker and even unorganized worker under ESI. Then you know that India has a large food supply, food stock, 70 million ton reserve. Center should allocate adequate food to the state. Around 2/3 of the people of India subsidized food ratio. Around 500 million people are excluded from ration card. Must be treated on urgent basis. Universalization of food ration in rural and urban slum require 20 million ton, which is less than half of the food stock. Because we have 70 million food stock. If monsoon season happens, Rabi crop, then it will be 80 million. So 80 million ton reserve. So if we'll give free food to the slum and to the rural people, then it will require only 20 million. So why the center is very much it's not considered, it's not not providing all the subsidy for the state, and the food link with the state by which the stock food will be used for in the time of the pandemic. So this will save the people from hunger. And also you know that in the monsoon time, people in the time of rainy season, so people will there will a chance of hunger take will be more because there will no job, there will very crisis will be happen. So in that time, it is a must. It is very important work to do by the central government. So these are some of the things I want to mention, and some of the overview. So again, I want that these people are very vulnerable. They are exactly excluded from the society. They are the creator of the society, but we see that these peoples are in a different way, and we are neglected. These people are not recognized. They have no security. They have no future. So these things, the time has come. The pandemic is not a curse, it is a blessing. These are aware all of us about different types of problems. So how to tackle the problem. So this is time. We should think very carefully about the migrants. Who are the backbone of our economy. If the informal sector will exist, then our economy will exist. The economy will flourish. That's it. Thank you. Hello.
Bhai, I'm Firoz.
हाँ.
Hello.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Then how you are defining this organized agriculture worker and unorganized agriculture worker?
No, actually, organized agriculture work actually in this particular case, there is in NSSU when extract the data, they have already given the definition of organized and unorganized. They have already tabular format. The classification already done on the basis of different land access and all the basis of the total member engaged in the particular sector. So it has. I have not gone in the deeper way. So just in this particular case, I have just collected the classified the data on the basis of the whatever the NSS data. Exactly. If you have some idea because you are doing on the agriculture, then if you just give idea to some of the common people, it will be helpful. Hello, Dr. Khirod. Dr. Khirod.
Okay. Very nice presentation. I have a question. Hello.
Yes.
As you mentioned that there is no database, so it's a real challenge for government actually. So we need that their skill because this is the time we have to retain these migrants once they have already. It's just a kind of forced migration. I
Yes,
say
exactly.
forced migration. So this is the time to what should be the government immediate action and how the government can approach to register or create a database with specifying their skills so that the appropriate steps can government take.
You know that Dr. Praful, I want to add here. You know that at the time of pandemic, already in the Odisha government has given every village has given to collect the data who are in the outside Odisha and outside the district. All the things they have already collected. So just whatever the data collected for the return migrants. So first do on this particular return migrant data because we have no database now to collection of this particular migrant. So here only source is the return migrant data. So on the basis of return migrant data, we make a database. And after that, on the basis of their skill, we know that what are they are doing, what is their qualification. On the basis of the return migrant, we have to make a database and the skilled classification. So that will be the better option as far as my knowledge is concerned. So in that particular time, we have to focus on the return migration data in case of Odisha.
One more point. Your presentation, I mean, from your slide, I just saw one point that from Odisha, the out migration to Chhattisgarh is highest. Am I right? I think.
Yes.
Chhattisgarh is not coming under high income state.
No, exactly a very right question. But
what kind of laborer or migrant workers are there? I mean, out migrants from Odisha.
Actually, it is actually in the geographical point of view, it is very close. Second thing is bricklaying, farming, and all the things we can find in this particular maximum population. And also in the agricultural field, also they are engaged already. Dr. Kirodhar can give the answer because he is also doing in this particular. So many factors. Basically, the major factor is geographic factor. And also bricklaying, farming also, there are many bricklaying farming in the Chhattisgarh area. So that exactly the things you might have. It is a very pertinent question you have raised. I look into why basically this particular area is high out migrants, so that things need to be answered to different studies. Okay. Thank you.
There is a question from Swagatam Swain. Who can be termed as migrant worker and what may be the reason for high percentage of movement to CG? I think this is Chhattisgarh or Chandigarh. CG.
Chandigarh, no? Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh already have told that major factor is the geographical category very good. All the which maximum district is adjoined with the Chhattisgarh area. So that is the district boundary. Some of the maximum district boundary joining the Chhattisgarh area. So that the flow is basically much more higher. So some of the cases also different economic factor like whatever I sort of planting, farming, and some of the agriculture sector. Exactly.
And Sibhai, in addition to that, I think since Bhilai steel plant is there, so some of the district which is adjacent to Bhilai steel plant, so I think that is also a reason.
Yes,
I'm not sure, but that may be a
this
reason.
is a point because
Bhilai
it
steel
is the industrial cluster. It is a Chhattisgarh industrial cluster. So this is a point also we can make. But mainly very major point is geographical point. Because the maximum district in Odisha, if you see the other states and Chhattisgarh is joining with the maximum boundary, district boundary of Odisha. So that the things also they play a very difficult role.
So, I have a simple question.
Yes.
Kirud.
Yes.
So if you see the agricultural practices in Odisha at one hand, right? If you see the Rabi crops, number of people engaged in Rabi and the number of people engaged in Kharif, then around 80% of the Rabi crops are barren land. That means no one is ready to cultivate because there is no manpower. Now in agriculture, there is one important factor is there is no manpower. That big farmers are saying people are migrating to Gujarat and Mumbai and other places. So we do not have manpower. So now due to COVID, that if some people are that if state is able to bringing back to the manpower to our state, now there will be good agricultural practices. So they will engage in most of the Rabi crops. Then why they will move to Gujarat? So,
but you just see wage rate. You just see the wage rate. And the agriculture field, agriculture still now in Odisha, basically the labor intensive in nature, not capital intensive nature. And it is a family, like all the family members engaged in the agriculture sector. So here the reward, suppose the husband is working in agriculture, so the wife is not getting the reward. The son is not getting the reward, only the husband is getting the reward. So it is basically the wage structure and the output from agriculture as very low as compared to other states. If we compare with the Punjab, Haryana and Odisha, these things basically compare them, though it is a lower return, the chance of the wage rate, the chance of increased wage rate, there is no possibility, the future. So they are not seeing, they cannot see the future in the agriculture.
No, you are talking about this wage rate, but if you see the net saving at people who are working at Gujarat and the net saving of the people who are working in different agriculture, those do not have any house rent, they do not have nothing to spend in say evening and morning and other times.
That I know, but you know the psychology of the people in villages. If a person is doing agriculture, if a person is doing the informal sector in Delhi, then the people in life
exactly. That means we should not bother about migrants. We should bother about their psychology. Let us change their psychology.
I am not agree with this thing. But there is a stigma in this prevail. The current is flowing. So I am not in the favor of the current. I am strongly disagree with the current. But if you go to the village, these things is happening. So due to the continuously fall of the agriculture, the faith on the agriculture, the people's faith on agriculture declines. That's the thing.
So, can I add to Khirod Bhai question?
Yes.
Khirod Bhai, I think as long as Odisha agriculture is suffering from natural calamities like flood or cyclone, and unless Odisha government is trying for trying for that is called suppose contract farming, like commercialization of agriculture. That term is commercialization of agriculture, like contract farming, or will bring some reforms like land reforms or labor reforms. I think till that we can't engage all of our labor force in agriculture. because agriculture till that time agricultural productivity will be not sufficient so that we can engage all these out migrant people in agricultural sector. This is my point. Because
But
two
now
factors are there.
time has come to engage. Now if people are here, if all of the people who are working at outside
I think
I just
we should
want-
look at the other question that is there in the chat box. Then we can have discussion between you three.
Just
This is a
I want
humble
to
request.
ask, that is time, the time has already come. Just just I'm giving example. When, in a few years back, 4-5 years back, I was in USA for few days. So I went to the store, in the Bengali store there. I saw the chandua in this particular store.
Hello.
Do you imagine what is the cost of the chandua? The cost of the chandua is $70, $70 to $80. And the demand of the chandua in the Brown University area, the high demand of the chandua. The Bengali subject told me we are not, the Odia people cannot supply that much chandua to this particular area. So that's why the many people are not found, not getting their the particular products. So that things basically here why I am talking these things. So we have, the time has come. We have to focus on our own local resources. We have to focus on the resources, natural sources, and also focus on the small and medium scale industry. This the family based household industry. So that will also create a change. That will also see all the things. You can see every district having a uniqueness. Every district having uniqueness, but we are not promoting this thing. Like Chandua, like the Sambalpuri Sari, then different types of the local products. So we are not promoting this thing in the global market.
Chicken.
Okay, bhai, there is a question from Gayatri Sahu. Is it possible to reduce the informal workers number significantly?
Exactly, it is the no. I have already shown that the formal workers formal sector is increasing, but the formal employment is not increasing that way. But obviously, why not? It will be obviously it will be decreases. The informal sector will be decreased in your future.
So another question from
Because
I have a question.
okay, so
Sir, exactly.
one question.
Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee.
hello, hello,
Hello.
exactly,
Hello. Myself,
tell.
Sir, I have a simple. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that is Manrega.
Yes.
It will play a very crucial role in Rajasthan nowadays, providing more work to those affected people, like migrant laborers. But what is the role of our government about Manrega program in COVID-19? Government again.
Hey, it is a high time to implement this thing. Without these things, the people will suffer a lot. So it is an idea that is either Manrega is mandatory. Mandatory, the government have to create the job because there is no job in the market. So that is the government responsibility. No
But
option is there.
Rajasthan has done a tremendous job in providing work to the
That is
affected
right.
by the crisis.
The data, if you see the database Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are doing a tremendous job. So we also learn from the state, right? No problem. So we have also some positive aspect in the state, some negative aspect in the state. So we have to see the picture in the state, whatever the positive aspect they are doing, we have to accept it. So that should be the government policy. It should be the government policy.
Bhai, another question from Vikas bhai. What were the major Odisha government initiatives for migrant workers under this pandemic, during the pandemic? Has
Hello?
it been sufficient? Hello?
Huh?
One more question from Vikas bhai. What were the major Odisha government initiative for migrant workers during this pandemic?
Basically, migrant worker initiative, the major
By
initiative
Odisha government.
to revive their employment or to protect them, or what exactly he is asking? To create his employment
No.
generation, or for the bringing them to Odisha.
No, what kind
I
of
think he's asking for long-term
What kind of-
solution. I think
long-term solution.
he's asking for long-term solution.
Exactly, you know that first thing, Odisha government has massively spending the money in case of the fisheries, and also in the cottage and small scale industry, also in the non-timber forest products, goods and services. So these things also. Then how the tribal development and the scheduled caste and the female the women empowerment, all these, how these are engaged. The self-help group also. If you see self-help group, the highest number of the Odisha government highly giving importance to the self-help group. So self-help group also is part by which they can also make act in the production processes. So that the things basically everybody now you know that large scale industry cannot possible. We have to think of agriculture. We have to think of small scale, medium scale industry, and because the large scale industry cannot found a huge amount of labor in near future. So that exactly the policy should be the policy. This type of policy should enhancement of this particular economy sector for near future, near 2 or 3 years. So that exactly the Odisha government should do.
Okay, one more question from Aditya Mitra. He is saying that Odisha people is going to outside to work as fitting floor tiles, but people from migrant laborers are coming from Bengal and Odisha, Bihar. They are working here. I mean in Odisha. So, is it possible to fill that gap, like to get motivate those Odisha workers to stay here and do the same? I mean, this kind of problem can be solved.
Actually, I didn't get the point. People of Odisha go to the other state for a particular work, such as fitting food tiles, and sometimes Bihari and Bengali work engaged for such type of work in Odisha. Okay. So that things basically generally Bihari and Bengali is maximum. Those people are basically established. These people somehow established in Odisha. Those people are doing such type of job. As far as my some of the knowledge is concerned, it may be right or minute. I'm not that perfectly right with this particular question. So yes, it should be. Why not? If these particular people are we Odisha people hire Bihari and Bengali to our own state. So why not we protect or we keep our own labor? Yes. So there is no problem. Okay. But here we have to give the wages. We have to divert them. That this type of wages. Sometimes what happens? Now information gap is there. The people don't know where they will find job. So due to the information gap, suddenly delay procedures. They don't know where to go because there are plenty job available in certain particular area, but they go to certain place where there is a job crisis because the editor, the contractor are taking them to this particular place. They have no because the benefit of contractor. So that the contractors benefit their flow to the other state. So that may be the answer.
No, let me put this question. What Vadan was asking to Atip Bhai, this is just a settlement that I have some relation with Andhra, I am working in Andhra. Andhra has certain relation with Odisha. If I am working in some university, other states are working in revenue science, what's the loss? I do not think. All are getting money. That is not.
Sometimes role of contractor, role of middleman, they're very high. Middleman's role.
No, Bhai, I think the answer lies with the solution given by Praful earlier. Because Praful was telling that if there will be a data regarding the skilling, mapping of skills, or information related to migrant worker, or their skills and where they are already engaged. So if we will have such type of information, then on basic on the with that information we can only engage those people that who are relevant for which sector. Without knowing the information, I don't think we can engage those workers in different sector because we don't have any relevant data.
Deepak,
We don't have any relevant information.
as Deepak, I have answered to you. As Shiva has already told, 95% of the informal sector are from rural, right? 80% from urban. And most of the informal sector people, they are unskilled because they are working in a very informal sector and informal way. Just taking plate from one table to another table. Just say, I can say sweeping the floor. So what kind of skill you want from these laborers? Because everyone can do that. There is no measurement of skill, but there is problem to give a work to them, either 8-hour work or 10 hours work, and they need some money for that.
No. I think suppose one man, one person or one people, he has already completed his diploma course or IT course from Odisha, and he is engaged in an informal sector or informal company. And I think
That
he has
percentage
skills.
is very
So that can. No. I don't think we have those information with us.
No, we do not have, but we think that the percentage is very, very less in comparison to these people who are unskilled and working in informal sector.
Okay, I think we have covered all the questions. So it
Bhai,
was,
if you'll permit,
Deepak.
can I ask my last question?
Exactly. You're highly welcome.
Sibhai, actually, it was very nice presentation, and I enjoyed when you talked about the dignity of labor and labor values, especially. Since I have known you that you have with you that socialist idea, socialism ideology. So that's why I think you narrated the value of labor or dignity of labor in very well researched manner. But I have one or two questions, one or two doubts, and I am also disagree. I have disagreement with some of your solutions. So if you'll permit, can I just explain those? Yeah. First thing is, I couldn't get that why there is increase in migration from urban sector to urban sector. This was my doubt. If there is increase in migration from rural sector to urban sector, then it is understood. But I don't understand why there is an increase in trend from, I think you mentioned that, from urban sector to urban area to urban area. My first question. Second question is, you talked about solutions like minimum cash transfer of 5,000 rupees for all the migrants or those who are coming to different states. I think we don't have any proper data related to this. That whom we will consider as migrant, whether I will be considered a migrant or not. Suppose I travel from Delhi to Odisha, then whether government of Odisha will transfer or government of India will transfer 5,000 rupees to my account or not. That is my doubt. Second thing regarding this rental house, I think in this Atmanirbhar Bharat package, government of India has already announced about affordable rental housing scheme that in each and every cities they are supposed to build, construct such type of affordable housing. And another thing you mentioned regarding free food grain, provision of food grains to those migrant people. I think government of India has already extended for next 2 months that those migrants who are coming from different places, then 5 kilos of rice and dal to each and every person, government of India is supposed to provide. But my question is one question that suppose, as Khirot Bhai earlier explained, suppose there is reverse migration from this developed state to Odisha, Bengal, UP or Bihar. There is a trend of reverse migration. And I think whether there will be increase in wage rate in those states like Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu, because whether those states they are going to face the lack of labor supply since there is reverse migration. So is there any impact on wage rate in those states? And is there any opportunity for the state of this eastern part of Odisha, eastern part of India, that due to some structural change, that they can engage those workers in different sectors? My first question. Second question is whether agriculture or MSME will be a solution, will be an answer for engaging those people, or whether aggressive industrialization, like setting up big industries like POSCO, or setting up big industries in steel sector, aluminum sector, construction of different clusters, industrial clusters or parks, that would be a solution for those employing those sectors. Or setting up different service related industry like IT related industry, or electronics telecommunication industry, or e-commerce, e-education. Those will be the solution for long term solution for those migrants. I have only this doubt whether we will support Kirot Bhai's view or aggressive industrialization, or
No.
engaging those people in service sector.
I respect your view. Actually, if you see that it is a chance, because I have already told you pandemic is a blessing for us. Because whatever the linkage which are disrupted earlier between agriculture to industry to service. So industry, so agriculture, the linkage with agriculture, linkage with trading, linkage with agriculture, linkage with services. This was it is very weakly. So that the things basically the COVID situation where the migrant labor came to the home state, and basically there is now this phobia now to still continue for a long period. They will never go back to this destination point for some, because they will try to settle in this particular homestead for at least 1 year or 2 years. So within this 1 or 2 years, so the government should utilize this particular resources, human resources, in a very dedicated manner, by which it will link to the small scale and cottage industry with this, whatever you told, with the medium scale industry. This time is not to think about the large scale industry. We cannot give input to the large scale industry this time, because this time is to revive the small scale, medium scale and the agriculture industry. Automatically, when this particular industry then automatically it will give input to the large scale industry in the coming future. So that exactly the return we can get. So exactly that in the sectoral interlinkage, structural transformation is very much essential in the time of COVID. So that will again create its own basically resources to create its own employment, to create its own production. Then to the distribution, consumption, production, distribution, consumption, all the major factors of economy will be prevail within the territory. The region will be the dominating in this different all types of factors of production and some modes of production. So that will also be a very the positive aspect of this area. So we should take this in a challenge, not in a negative way. So it is a really blessing for us.
Deepak, let me.
So it means, Sivai, you were talking about for immediate solution. So we should focus on agriculture and MSME. For long-term solution, we should focus on large-scale industry. Is it that?
No, automatically, whatever the things if it will revive, automatically it will give food input to the large-scale industry. So all the things will be linked. So we have to make a structural linkages, sectoral linkages now. The time has come to linking the transport linkage with the agriculture, the service linkage with the agriculture. We can think of service sector, we can think of different sector. So industry, large scale industry are not only solution. You know the service sector provides maximum return to the economy. So why we are only running after large scale sector? So large scale sector is now it is capital intensive. It's during liberalized time, there is maximum employment is not coming from the large scale industry nowadays, because most industry are the capital intensive nature. they are killing their basic labor. So why you are thinking of, so here primary sector is the major source. Agriculture can be, if you revive agriculture, revive small scale industry, then it will give maximum employment. So don't say a notion, wrong notion, the large scale industry will save our economy. That is a wrong notion.
No, Deepak had one more question, that what will happen to the wage rate, right? If there will be reverse migration, what will happen to the wage rate? Wage rate will increase, but real income remain constant, because I had no saving when wage was 200. I have also no saving when wage is 500. That implies wage will increase if there will be reverse migration, but the real income remain constant.
Yeah, point.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Siddhai, don't you think that suppose a big industry is coming, then many downstream industry and ancillary industry, those will also coming automatically. So those will promote.
That will
And I
the
think-
agglomeration. That will be the agglomeration effect of that. That will create the agglomeration.
And I think that will generate more formal employment. You are talking about informal employment. Suppose
But the time is not fixed. This time we will think this thing after 2 years, 1 year. But this is not the right time to think about the revival. Already industry, large scale industry already reached in the certain space. Because we have to take this agriculture and the small scale industry. Because the time, the challenge, the golden opportunity came. So you have to accept this opportunity.
But recently, ArcelorMittal announced to invest 2,000 crore rupees. Whether it is invested in large scale or small scale.
no, large scale. Don't worry about that. Kalinga Sorry.
Then Navin Patnaik welcome this. Yes, it will. At least it will help to the migrants.
Both the cooperation and collaboration of central government and state government. It is the initiative of Steel Ministry.
Your to you. Okay. Bhai, nice presentation.
Very nice presentation, bhai.
Vikas,
Thank you so much.
Hello, Vikas is here.
Yes, bhai, I am here.
Okay.
Very nice, bhai, very nice. Congratulations.
Okay.
हेलो
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
हेलो सर
Ranjit.
हेलो हाँ सर मैं एक बात बोलना चाह रहा हूँ पहला वाला जो क्वेश्चन एक था जो छत्तीसगढ़ में क्यों ज्यादा माइग्रेशन हो रहा है उड़ीसा से
हाँ
ये मैं मतलब ये मेरा व्यू है मैं एक्चुअली
हाँ तुम्हारा तो माइग्रेशन ऊपर में काम है बताओ विल गिव ए गुड आइडिया ओके
मेरा ये बात है कि सर एक्चुअली वेस्टर्न उड़ीसा से ज्यादा माइग्रेट हो रहा है छत्तीसगढ़ की तरफ बिकॉज ऑफ उस जगह में जो एग्रीकल्चर वर्क है वो ईस्टर्न उड़ीसा से बहुत तो शहर का जो माइग्रेशन का मॉडल उसमें उसको उन्होंने बोला है कि शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस माइग्रेशन होता है तो mainly people are migrant from Odisha to Chhattisgarh in the short distance because of short distance and there are many mining industries as well as other industries and that's why the people are going from Odisha to Chhattisgarh. Okay. This is my viewpoint. It's maybe not relevant but
Subhai, please unmute.
Yeah, Sibhai.
Hello. Ranjit, you are very right. Actually, the agriculture, whatever already Kirod also mentioned this thing, due to some of the agriculture and the already Deepak also mentioned that due to Bhilai plants, some of the factor. But geographical factor is very important as compared to because my Chhattisgarh is a state which is maximum district is adjacent. Odisha maximum district adjacent to the particular state. You just see the map and you can see the Chhattisgarh's.
yes sir that is a short distance migration. Epstein told this people are moved from one area to another area because of short distance and western part of Odisha and Chhattisgarh is the very short distance. That's why the people are going from these states to Chhattisgarh.
Okay, another question, Dr. Saurabha Goswami, she's from Kalinga to Social Science. She's giving me message that with a particular to what exactly question. Praful, can you explain, Saurabha? During Narega for migrant labor, for enough work is not being generated. There are many who do not want to work under Narega. They are asking of earth digging work in the village after returning home. So suggest some possible measures where more work can be generated to accommodate migrant labor. So I have already given an answer because there are many sectors. There is Narega is not the only option. If there is skilled or also they have unskilled, there are many. Suppose they can associate household industry, the cottage industry. They can also create his own farm. They can create his fishing in the all the things, all the many activities, poultry farming, agriculture. So many things are there. If there will be mind, there is a desire, there will be some skill, then you can also. So government also provides some of the assistance. So that will also bank, some of the bank also giving loans. So that is not a big challenge. If somebody desires and somebody strong desire, dedication, devotion, then automatically he can win.
Yeah. So it's Sibai, it's a very nice presentation, very informative, and you with statistics, a lot of things. Especially I came to know. So thank you very much for your presentation, your time. I would extend my gratitude and thanks to all the listener participants. And thanks to Jayadev, who is our technical support. He is doing a great job. Thanks to also Vishwajit Pani, who is from Netherlands. He is with us and all the time, and he is also coordinating this live session in YouTube. And thanks to all the core members of our AMOPress. And
I think there is one more question by Dularam. As you mentioned that 5,000 should transfer to migrant labor, how we will identify them? So I think we'll answer this question.
That question is answered by Deepak. Actually, whatever the data we have, so we have to take the initiative fast. So that doesn't mean we have to support data. Take example Odisha government. Odisha government have already have a 10 lakh migrants data. 10 lakh people migrant. Why this particular if it is possible, then to transfer this money to 10 lakh people. Then we will see what will happen. Whatever the data is available, then do the work. That my thing. So here we have no data. Though we have suppose just 1 minute. Though we have no data, so that's why we don't do anything. So that is not the answer. So whatever the things can be possible, we'll do. Whatever the data we have available, we'll take initiative. Then when we get the full data, then we have to do the hard work to get the full data. It is very easy task, not a difficult task to get the all the data. Easy task. Every village, if you upload one person, then every area, then automatically within it will be feasible. So government is not taking the keen interest to do such things because it is a huge cost. If they will produce all the data, it may be a huge cost for the government. Automatically, the things will be going the other way. So I am not going in the big four way. So I am just explaining what exactly.
Yes, this is supported by Krishna Prabhu Rao in the last platform. He is also saying the same thing. Panchayat level data can be collected through workers for future reference. This can be done actually. I mean, if we can employ his
एक बात मैं बता रहा हूँ प्रफुल्ल जी. So just हमको we generating government publishing or make it public the in-migration data. Why government is not publicizing out-by the data? What is the intention of the government? If the data is available, why do people know the data? So it is the hypocritical way of this system. So
No.
So it means something is behind the intention is behind this data sharing.
Data sharing, data is the free. It should be reached to each and every person. Data or जो data को MSSO data, why complicate this MSSO data? Why not easy mode of showing this data? Because they know that if the data will reach to each and every person, then government will help. So only few research scholars, जो efficient research scholar can extract the MSSO data. I'm not the easy mode of the calculating the data and just show the data in the proper format. So if they make the data so complicated that it is very difficult to handle.
Can I add something? I think recently our Honorable Prime Minister has also hints about setting up migration commission, and also UP government has already established that migration commission, and similarly state government like Odisha, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, these states should try for setting up this migration commission, which will collect the data and information related to all in-migrants or out-migrants, their skilling, their mapping, that their information, each and everything they should address, and also think about their social securities. Not only that, whatever Vikas Bhai is always fighting for social securities of the labor, and you are saying the dignity of that labor value. So I think a labor migration would be a solution. I don't think whether it will be a long-term solution, but a medium-term solution. So I think all the state governments should come forward for setting up this migration commission, so that we will have a data, and on the basis of that, and we can transfer this 5,000 rupees as suggested by you. Otherwise, the people like me and Vikas Bhai will be also benefited from that 5,000 rupees. Will be considered as ghost beneficiary. So I
migrant
think that
workers.
should be happening. Migrant workers will be considered. Suppose I will travel to Odisha from Delhi, then in list when panchayat worker or panchayat level data who will surveying the data, he will also insert my name in that, so that I will be also benefited from that. Because it's not about that who are coming or who are going. It's all the relevant information associated to these migrant workers.
Yeah, but
So
you can have
setting
a
up a
cap and
permanent
floor on the
government.
income, right? You can have a cap
Sorry?
and floor on the so when you pay taxes, you are paying taxes, you automatically is excluded from this list.
Yeah, that I know. That's why I am saying. That responsibility should be given to a separate commission. Suppose during this lockdown situation, he didn't travel from Delhi to Odisha, whether he will get or not. He should be got that amount. But we don't have any information.
Sir, can I answer your question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, while we will collect data about those migrant laborers at Panchayat level at current situation, we will collect all the details of all those migrant laborers, whether they are corporate bodies or whether they are informal laborers or whether they are professional workers. Like, we will collect each and every information from those workers at Panchayat level. After collecting that huge data, then we can classify to whom we will provide that incentive, like maybe 5,000 or 2,000 rupees, or we will provide rice, dal, or whatever necessary things. We will decide after that. Because right now we are very clear that we do not have any data about those migrant laborers, right? So what we can do now, So I think the like detailed data regarding migrant laborers can help us to classify to whom the government will give incentive and to whom the government will not give incentive. And right now we are also talking about Prime Minister has also given one plan to establish one migrant labor commission, right? Then India can modify also the exact definition of a migrant labor. Like according to the International Labour Organization, the existing definition of a migrant labor is something different. Like it's in a bigger sense. So we all are coming under that as we are living our own birthplace. So here we can do this, and for future reference we can collect data right now. So we can think it as an opportunity for us. So that's all.
Thank you. It's a very nice suggestion. Actually, it is possible. It is not a very big task. If government is devoted to this, and particularly if the people support, the administration will be taking the serious way. Then this thing is in a very short time it will be perfect. It's a big issue. Because it's intentional. I already have told the government have data, but government don't want to show to public. So many data government are hiding. So this is many data, many report will not come to the limelight. The report within this department. So that things also happening in this. So data, if you not get data, you will blind in the particular society. So data has a major power. It is a major weapon. So when we got data, just see when the employment data comes, how the government, there is the media, the people are aware that unemployment data came. So here, this is a big burden for the government. With the real data they will get people. So the government always want to make the people ignorant. So that is the major things. जब तक people ignorant रहेंगे, तब तक government रहेगा. जब तक people educated हो जाएंगे, सबको पता चल जाएगा, then government will fail. So that exactly happening.
There is a question on the YouTube by Binod Sethi. The Modi government announced 20 lakh crore package in the name of self-reliant economy. How can it be helpful to workers and common people at large?
Actually, really the 20 lakh crore is a big project. But if you see the total budget, if you see as compared to other countries, they have spent GDP more than 5%, 10%, around 10% of the GDP they spent for the COVID issue. So here it is, in India case, it is not that much big amount. But yes, it is a big amount. We have to use these things in a proper way. In the whatever I discussed, the time has come to make the sectoral and structural transformation of an economy, linking the economy, linking the primary sector to the different sector, make our small-scale household cotton industry will be the more vibrant, and transportation sector should be linking to this agriculture area, and then it will be more helpful for the marketing and the agriculture. The farmer will get the maximum benefit. Then the product will directly link with the industry. So that things basically will create. But I don't know where exactly how this particular money will be invested, and if this money will go in the hand of the industrialist and all this money should go to the real ground people. That money should go to the rural development. So that's the major focus. So here the people, the administrator role, the government, the officials role, then the local leaders role is very high. If this money will be allocated in this money should be allocated in the proper way to the proper sector. So those sector is a dying sector. Like I may give example, Chodar cotton mill. Why should not we revive the Chodar cotton mill at that time? So Chodar cotton mill should be revived at that time. Many industries died. many short medium scale industries are dying in Odisha, in India. So these dying industries will revive through this money. So that will create a major employment opportunity in this area, and also this area will develop. And we have to establish industry in backward region like Malkangiri, Kalandi. So in this region, we have to establish different types of, we have to promote the NTF, non-timber forest products item. So that will be the case. We have to make empower the tribals, women, widows, then the scheduled caste peoples. Basically, those are marginalized section, not in. So these things also very. Listen, the money should be spent on the marginalized section. The money should be spent on the excluded people. The money should be spent on the vulnerable industry, small scale industry, dying industry. Then it will create a better result. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is Jaydev is there? Jaydev?
Yes, bhai. Oh.
Okay, I think we have Sipai has addressed all the questions.
Yes, we are done with all the questions. I think we should wrap up the session.
Yeah. So over to you for formal vote of thanks.
Okay, this is honor and privilege to give a vote of thanks to this session. I'd like to first of all thank Dr. Sivasankar Sahu to agree and deliver this fascinating story about COVID-19 and its impact on informal and labor sector. And also like to thank Dr. Praful Swain agreeing at the very last moment to moderate this particular session. And also like to thank Biswajit Bhai for making this session live in YouTube, and also like to thank all of the members making this particular discussion interesting, specifically Ranjit, Swarna and others, and Deepak Bhai and Kirat Bhai and Vikas Bhai. So thank you all, and Shiv Bhai, great discussion.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Again, I thank Deepak and Vikas. Basically, these two people are doing a great job, and also thank to the YouTube. I forget. Hello. The YouTube streamlining all the things, whatever, all the people. Biswajit, sorry, very much thankful to you. Actually, it's a great idea, and really, again, this is a small initiative. This is to promote this particular organization, basically the Amaprice organization, which is always work for the people, always work for the upliftment of the education, always work for the upliftment of vulnerable section. So really, they are doing a fabulous job, and I am really privileged. Again, I am really privileged to be part of this organization. They always stay with this organization. And thank you all for giving me the chance. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you.